1, we've got a real treat for you. A 1981 Pontiac Trans Am that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This beauty is priced at $11,500, and from what the seller tells us, it seems to be in pretty good shape overall. Now let's dive into the details. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 8-cylinder engine that's ready to roar. The car runs perfectly, and the seller mentions it's nice and clean. That's always a good sign. The Trans Am is a rear-wheel drive machine, so you can expect some serious fun behind the wheel. The odometer reads just 13,445 miles, which is relatively low for a car of this age. The seller also states that the title is clean, so you shouldn't have any issues with ownership transfer. However, there are a few things to keep in mind. The seller mentions that the car needs new tires due to sitting for a while. They've also installed a newer master cylinder and 4-wheel disc brakes, which is a nice upgrade. There are a couple of small rust spots, but nothing too alarming based on the description. Inside, the car could use a new carpet kit, and the lock cylinders for the glove compartment and trunk need to be replaced. These are relatively minor issues that can be easily addressed. The seller seems genuine in their description, admitting to the car's minor flaws while highlighting its overall good condition. They're open to serious offers but want to avoid tire kickers, so if you're interested, be prepared to make a fair offer. It's worth noting that the seller also has another ad for a '79 Trans Am with a 403 engine. So if you're in the market for a classic Pontiac muscle car, you might want to check that out as well. Overall, this 1981 Pontiac Trans Am seems like a solid choice for any enthusiast looking for a vintage ride with plenty of character. Just be sure to do your due diligence, check the car out in person, and maybe bring along a mechanic friend to help you assess its condition before making a final decision. 2. We've got a real gem for you. A 1962 Ford Falcon Ranchero that's up for sale on Craigslist. This beauty is priced at $14,300, and from what the seller tells us, it's a real find. First off, let's talk about the condition. The seller states that this Ranchero is unmolested and completely original, which is music to any enthusiast's ears. It's always exciting to come across a classic car that hasn't been heavily modified or altered from its original state. Under the hood, you'll find a straight-six engine paired with a 3-speed manual transmission. The seller mentions that the car runs and drives well, with everything working as it should. That's a great sign, especially for a vehicle that's over 60 years old. The tires and brakes are also reported to be in good shape, which is crucial for any classic car you plan on driving regularly. Now, the seller is upfront about their reason for selling. They need to invest in some equipment for their small business and are looking to raise some capital. It's always appreciated when a seller is honest about their motivations. As for the price, the seller is asking $14,300. They've done their research and believe this is a fair price based on the rarity and condition of the car. These Rancheros are indeed hard to come by, especially in such original condition. The seller does mention that the car could use some restoration to take it to the next level, but they also point out that it wouldn't require much investment. Alternatively, you could simply enjoy driving the car as is and appreciate its vintage charm. It's worth noting that the seller is open to offers, so if you're interested, it might be worth starting a dialogue to see if there's some wiggle room on the price. However, given the rarity and condition of this Ranchero, it's likely to generate a lot of interest from classic car enthusiasts. Overall, this 1962 Ford Falcon Ranchero seems like a fantastic opportunity for anyone looking for a unique and original classic car. As always, be sure to inspect the vehicle thoroughly in person and consider bringing along a knowledgeable friend or mechanic to help you assess its condition before making a final decision. Happy bidding, and don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. 3. We've got a real beauty for you. A 1975 Cadillac Eldorado coupe that's been brought back to life and is now looking for a new home. This stunning ride is being offered on Craigslist for just $6,000, and based on the seller's description, it seems like it could be a real steal. First off, let's talk about the condition. The seller mentions that this Eldorado has no rust, which is a huge plus for any classic car. Rust can be a real nightmare to deal with, And the fact that this car has managed to avoid it is a testament to how well it's been cared for over the years. The interior is also said to be in excellent condition, with the leather still looking great. That's impressive for a car that's nearly 50 years old. Now, here's where the story gets really interesting. The seller says that this Caddy was put into indoor storage way back in 1986 and was only recently resurrected in 2022. That means it's been protected from the elements for a good chunk of its life, which could explain its impressive condition. To top it all off, the car has been given a fresh coat of hot rod black paint, which is sure to turn heads wherever it goes. And if you're worried about the hood hinges, don't be. The seller specifically mentions that they still hold the hood up just fine. Now let's talk about value. The seller says that this Eldorado was appraised by Haggerty at $10,000, which is a pretty penny for a classic car. However, they're only asking $6,000, which could be an absolute bargain if the car is truly in as good of shape as they say. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to do your due diligence and inspect the car thoroughly before making a decision. But based on the seller's description and the photos provided, this 1975 Cadillac Eldorado Coupe seems like it could be a real gem. The odometer shows 105,000 miles, which is relatively low for a car of this age. And with a clean title and automatic transmission, this Caddy could be a great choice for anyone looking for a classic cruiser that's easy to drive and maintain. Overall, if you're in the market for a vintage Cadillac that's been well cared for and has plenty of style to spare, this 1975 Eldorado Coupe is definitely worth checking out. And at just $6,000, it could be a real bargain for the right buyer. As always, be sure to do your research and inspect the car thoroughly before making any decisions. But if everything checks out, this could be the classic car deal of a lifetime. 4. We've got a real treat for you. A 1965 Corvair Monza that's been lovingly cared for and is now looking for a new home. This beauty is being offered on Craigslist for $11,000. And based on the seller's description, it seems like it could be a real gem. First off, let's talk about the condition. The seller describes this Corvair as very clean, which is always a good sign. They also mention that it has low mileage, with the odometer showing just 68,547 miles. That's pretty impressive for a car that's over 50 years old. The seller also notes that they drove this car back and forth to work daily, which suggests that it's been well maintained and regularly used. That's a big plus in my book, as cars that sit for too long can develop all sorts of issues. Now, here's where the story gets even more interesting. The seller mentions that they have a book with receipts and photos from when the car was purchased from the original owner. That kind of documentation is a real treasure trove for any classic car enthusiast, as it helps to paint a picture of the car's history and how it's been cared for over the years. The seller also notes that there's no rust on the car, which is a huge plus. Rust can be a real nightmare to deal with, and the fact that this Corvair has managed to avoid it is a testament to how well it's been maintained. In terms of upgrades and repairs, the seller mentions that the car has new seat foam, a repaint in the original color, and a new master cylinder. While they can't remember everything off the top of their head, it's clear that they've put some work into keeping this car in top shape. Now let's talk about the price. At $11,000, this Corvair Monza is definitely on the higher end of the spectrum for a classic car. However, given its condition, low mileage, and documented history, it could be a worthwhile investment for the right buyer. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to do your due diligence and inspect the car thoroughly before making a decision. But based on the seller's description and the photos provided, this 1965 Corvair Monza seems like it could be a real find. The fact that the seller is retired and has moved to a lake suggests that they may be motivated to sell, which could work in your favor if you're interested in making an offer. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic Corvair that's been well loved and carefully maintained, this 1965 Monza is definitely worth checking out. With its clean title, automatic transmission, and low mileage, it could be a great choice for anyone looking for a vintage ride that's easy to drive and enjoy. As always, be sure to do your research and inspect the car thoroughly before making any decisions. But if everything checks out, this could be the classic car of your dreams. 5. We've got a real blast from the past, a 1982 Chevrolet Camaro that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This classic muscle car is priced at $8,000, and based on the seller's description, it seems like it could be a solid choice for anyone looking for a vintage ride with plenty of character. First off, let's talk about the condition. The seller describes this Camaro as being in good condition overall, which is always a positive sign. They mention that the car hasn't been driven much in the winter or rain, which has helped to keep the underside and engine compartment clean. That's a big plus, as exposure to the elements can lead to rust and other issues over time. The seller also notes that the original exhaust is clean, which suggests that the car has been well maintained throughout its life. They've also recently replaced the front calipers, pads, rear cylinders, and shoes, which is great news for anyone who wants a car that's ready to hit the road. Now let's talk about the engine. This Camaro is powered by a 305 cubic inch V8 engine, which is paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. That combination should provide plenty of power and a fun driving experience for anyone who loves classic muscle cars. The seller does mention that the original paint is faded, which is to be expected for a car that's nearly 40 years old. However, they also note that the interior is in good condition, which is a big plus. The T-roofs are also said to be leak-free, which is great news for anyone who wants to enjoy some open-air driving. Of course, it's worth noting that this Camaro does have a fairly high odometer reading at 195,000 miles. While that may be a concern for some buyers, it's not necessarily a deal-breaker if the car has been well maintained throughout its life. As with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to do your due diligence and inspect the car thoroughly before making a decision. But based on the seller's description and the photos provided, this 1982 Chevrolet Camaro seems like it could be a solid choice for anyone who's looking for a classic muscle car with plenty of character. The fact that the car has a clean title and is a hatchback model adds to its appeal, as does the manual transmission for those who enjoy a more engaging driving experience. Overall, if you're in the market for a vintage Camaro that's been well cared for and has plenty of potential, this 1982 model is definitely worth checking out. At $8,000, it's priced fairly for a classic muscle car in good condition, and with a little TLC, it could be a real head-turner on the road. As always, be sure to do your research and inspect the car thoroughly before making any decisions. But if everything checks out, this could be the classic ride you've been dreaming of. 6. We've got an interesting find for you. A 1963 Ford Fairlane 500 that's been given some serious upgrades under the hood. This vintage ride is being offered on Craigslist for just $4,000. But before we dive into the details, let's take a closer look at the seller's description. First off, it's important to note that the seller describes the car's condition as fair. That suggests that this Fairlane may have some cosmetic or mechanical issues that potential buyers should be aware of. However, the seller doesn't go into detail about what those issues might be, so it's definitely worth asking for more information if you're interested in the car. Now, let's talk about the upgrades. The seller mentions that this Fairlane has been fitted with a 1968 302 cubic inch engine, which is a nice step up from the original power plant. They've also installed a C6 automatic transmission and a Positraction 9-inch rear end, which should provide plenty of power and traction for those who want to have some fun behind the wheel. The seller also notes that there's a fuel cell and some additional parts included in the trunk, which could be a plus for anyone who's looking to do some further upgrades or repairs. One big plus is that the tires are said to be new, which is always a good thing for any classic car. Tires can be expensive to replace, so it's nice to know that this Fairlane has some fresh rubber. Now let's talk about the price. At just $4,000, this Fairlane 500 could be a real bargain for the right buyer. However, given the seller's description of the car's condition as fair, it's important to go into any potential purchase with eyes wide open. There may be some significant repairs or upgrades needed to get this car into top shape, and those costs can add up quickly. As with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to do your due diligence and inspect the car thoroughly before making a decision. If possible, Bring along a knowledgeable friend or mechanic who can help you assess the car's condition and identify any potential issues. It's also worth noting that the odometer shows 86,000 miles, which is relatively low for a car of this age. However, given the upgrades and modifications that have been made, it's possible that the engine and other components have more wear and tear than the odometer might suggest. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic Ford Fairlane 500 with some serious upgrades under the hood, this 1963 model could be worth checking out. Just be sure to go into any potential purchase with a clear understanding of the car's condition and the costs associated with any necessary repairs or upgrades. With a little TLC and some elbow grease, this vintage ride could be a real head-turner on the road. As always, do your research and trust your gut before making any big decisions. 7. We've got a real treat for you. A 1978 Ford Mustang that's been cherished by just 2 lady owners since it was brand new. This classic pony car is being offered on Craigslist for $6,000, and based on the seller's description, it seems like it could be a real gem. First off, let's talk about the condition. The seller describes this Mustang as being in excellent condition, which is always a great sign. They also mention that there's absolutely no rust on the car, which is a huge plus for any classic vehicle. Rust can be a real nightmare to deal with, and the fact that this Mustang has managed to avoid it altogether is a testament to how well it's been cared for over the years. Now, let's dive into the specs. This Mustang is equipped with the optional 2.8-liter V6 engine, which provides a nice balance of power and efficiency. The odometer shows 144,663 kilometers, which translates to around 89,189 miles. That's a relatively low number for a car that's over 40 years old, and the seller mentions that the engine has been rebuilt with approximately 20,000 kilometers put on it since then. The car also features a 3-speed automatic transmission, power brakes, and power steering, which should make it a breeze to drive and maneuver. One of the most impressive aspects of this Mustang is its originality. The seller notes that it still has its original factory red paint, white vinyl interior, and red carpet. Even the space-saver spare tire is said to be original. That level of authenticity is really hard to come by these days, and it's sure to be a big selling point for any serious Mustang collector. The seller also mentions that they have a Chilton repair and tune-up manual for the car, as well as some extra tail lights. Those kinds of extras can be really helpful for anyone who plans on doing their own maintenance or repairs. Now, let's talk about the price. At $6,000, this Mustang is priced very competitively for a classic car in such great condition. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to do your own due diligence and have the car inspected by a trusted mechanic before making a final decision. The seller has also provided some videos of the car, which is always a great sign. It shows that they're confident in the car's condition and are willing to be transparent about any potential issues. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic Mustang that's been well loved and carefully maintained, this 1978 model is definitely worth checking out. With its original features, low mileage, and excellent condition, it could be a real treasure for the right buyer. As always, be sure to do your research and ask plenty of questions before making any big decisions. But if everything checks out, this could be the Mustang of your dreams. 8. We've got a real treat for you. A 1979 Cadillac Coupe de Ville d'Elegance, and boy is it a beauty. This classic ride is a true barn find, with just 89,000 miles on the odometer. Can you believe it? That's like finding a time capsule on wheels. Now, let's talk about the condition. The seller says it's in good shape, and from what we can see, it looks pretty darn nice. The white paint job is still shining, and the car runs and drives smoothly. However, as with any vintage vehicle, there are a few small repairs needed here and there. But hey, that's part of the charm, right? Plus, the seller is even throwing in some extra parts to sweeten the deal. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 8-cylinder engine ready to roar to life, and with rear-wheel drive, you'll feel like you're gliding down the road in this luxurious coupe. The transmission is automatic, so you can sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. The best part? The title is clean, so you won't have to worry about any pesky paperwork issues. And all of this can be yours for just $5,900. That's a steal for a piece of automotive history like this. Now, I know what you might be thinking. But wait, the description doesn't say anything about the interior or other details. And you're right. We don't have all the information, but that's the beauty of these barn-find gems. There's a bit of mystery and excitement in discovering everything this car has to offer. So, if you're ready to take a step back in time and cruise in style, this 1979 Cadillac Coupe de Ville d'Elegance might just be the perfect ride for you. Don't miss out on this opportunity to own a classic piece of American automotive craftsmanship. 9. We're diving into the world of classic American muscle with this 1966 Chevrolet Chevelle. Now, I've got to be honest with you. This car isn't in perfect condition, but that's what makes it an exciting project for the right person. First off, let's talk about the good stuff. This Chevelle is a two-door model, which means it's got that sleek, sporty look we all love. Plus, it comes with all the original moldings, so you've got a solid foundation to work with. The seller also mentions that the car runs, drives, and stops, which is a great starting point for any restoration project. Now let's address the elephant in the room. The car does need some work. The seller notes that it's missing one door glass and a quarter glass. But hey, that's just an opportunity to put your own touch on this classic ride. And here's the best part. The seller is including 2 boxes of extra parts. That's like finding a treasure trove of Chevelle goodies. Under the hood, you'll find a gasoline engine, ready to roar to life with some TLC. The transmission is automatic, so you can focus on cruising down the road and turning heads. And speaking of paperwork, the title is clean, so you won't have to worry about any legal headaches. Now, I know what you're thinking, but what about the price? Well, here's the deal. The seller is asking $5,000, but they're also open to offers. That means you've got some room to negotiate and potentially score an even better deal on this classic Chevelle. So, if you're ready to take on a project and bring this 1966 Chevrolet Chevelle back to its former glory, this might just be the perfect opportunity. It's not going to be a walk in the park, but the satisfaction of cruising down the road in a car you've poured your heart and soul into? That's priceless. Keep in mind, though, that this car is being sold as is. It's up to you to do your due diligence and make sure you know exactly what you're getting into. But if you're up for the challenge, this Chevelle could be the start of an incredible journey. 10. We've got a real treat for you. A 1976 Chevrolet Nova that's just begging to be restored to its former glory. Now, I know what you're thinking. But wait, didn't the title say Concours? Well, you're right. And that's because the seller made a little mix-up. This is actually a Nova, not a Concours. But hey, we all make mistakes, right? Now, let's dive into the details. This Nova has just 49,268 original miles on the odometer, which is pretty darn impressive for a car that's over 45 years old. And get this, it's got a straight-six engine under the hood, which means it's got plenty of power to get you where you need to go. The seller has already started the restoration process, and boy, have they been busy. They've completely redone the front and back suspension, and even had it aligned so you know it's going to ride like a dream. Plus, they've replaced all the backtail lights and marker lights, so you'll be turning heads wherever you go. But that's not all. They've also put in new weather gaskets on the doors and trunk, so you won't have to worry about any pesky leaks. And the interior? It's been completely overhauled, so you'll be riding in style. Now, I know what you might be thinking. But what about the price? Well, here's the deal. The seller is asking $8,500, but they're also open to offers. That means you've got some room to negotiate and potentially score an even better deal on this classic Nova. Of course, it's important to keep in mind that this car is still a work in progress. The seller mentions that it will be a great car to finish restoring, so you'll need to be prepared to put in some elbow grease to get it to where you want it to be. But hey, that's part of the fun, right? One thing to note, the seller is only looking for serious inquiries, so if you're just tire kicking, this might not be the car for you. But if you're ready to take on a project and bring this 1976 Chevrolet Nova back to its former glory, then this could be the perfect opportunity. 11. We're talking about a 1979 Chevrolet Monza that's an absolute cream puff. Yes, you heard that right? A Monza. These little gems are often overlooked, but this one is sure to turn heads. First off, can we talk about the mileage? This baby has only 65,000 original miles on the odometer. That's like finding a time capsule on wheels. And the best part? It runs and drives like a dream. The seller says it's awesome, and I'm inclined to believe them. Under the hood, you'll find a peppy 4-cylinder engine that's paired with a 5-speed manual transmission. That means you'll have plenty of control over this little beast as you're zipping around town. And with rear-wheel drive, you'll feel like you're driving a mini muscle car. Now let's talk about the condition. The seller describes it as excellent, and from what I can see, they're not exaggerating. The interior is in amazing shape, which is a testament to how well this car has been cared for over the years. And get this, someone even added a pop-up sunroof back in the 80s. It's in great shape and doesn't leak, so you can enjoy the sunshine without any worries. The exterior is just as impressive. The green paint job looks fantastic, and the seller has even upgraded the wheels and tires. But don't worry, they kept the original steering wheel and wheels, so you can always go back to the classic look if you want. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. A Monza? Really? But hear me out. These cars are lightweight, nimble, and an absolute blast to drive. Plus, the seller mentions that this would make a sweet V8 swap. Can you imagine the looks on people's faces when you roll up in a V8-powered Monza? Talk about a sleeper. Of course, it's important to remember that this is still a 40-plus-year-old car, so it may have some quirks and imperfections, but that's part of the charm, right? And with a clean title, you won't have to worry about any pesky paperwork issues. So what's the damage? The seller is asking $5,700 for this little gem. Considering the condition, mileage, and potential for customization, I'd say that's a pretty fair price. But as always, be sure to do your due diligence and check it out in person before making any deals. In conclusion, if you're looking for a fun, unique, and well-maintained classic car, this 1979 Chevrolet Monza might just be the perfect fit. It's got style, personality, and plenty of potential. So, what do you say? Are you ready to make this cream puff yours? 12. Get ready to have your socks knocked off because today, we're diving into the world of luxury with this absolutely stunning 1984 Cadillac Eldorado convertible. This beauty is the epitome of style, comfort, and head-turning appeal. First things first, let's talk about the condition. The seller describes it as excellent, and from what I can see, they're not just blowing smoke. This Eldorado looks absolutely immaculate. It's a West Coast car that's never seen rain or snow, which means no pesky rust or weather-related damage. The red paint job is so sharp, you might just cut yourself looking at it. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 4.1-liter V8 engine that purrs like a kitten. And get this, the odometer shows only 47,000 miles. That's right, this classic has been gently used and cherished, making it a true collector's showpiece. Now, let's talk about the features. As a convertible, you'll be able to feel the wind in your hair as you cruise down the road in ultimate style. And with a clean title, you won't have to worry about any pesky paperwork issues. This Eldorado is ready to be enjoyed by its new owner. The seller mentions that everything works as it should, which is a testament to how well this car has been maintained. You'll be riding in the lap of luxury with all the bells and whistles you'd expect from a high-end Cadillac. But here's the real kicker. The seller says this car is a conversation piece everywhere they go. People absolutely love it, and it's easy to see why. The Eldorado has a timeless design that turns heads and sparks joy wherever it rolls. Now, I know what you might be thinking. But what about the price? Well, quality doesn't come cheap, and this Eldorado is no exception. The seller is asking $14,500, which may seem steep at first glance. However, when you consider the excellent condition, low mileage, and sheer coolness factor, it starts to look like a pretty sweet deal. Of course, as with any classic car purchase, it's important to do your due diligence. Give it a thorough inspection, take it for a test drive, and make sure everything checks out before you sign on the dotted line. But if everything looks good, you might just find yourself behind the wheel of one of the most stylish and iconic cars of the 1980s. So, what do you say, folks? Are you ready to make a statement wherever you go? Do you want to experience the ultimate in luxury and comfort? If so, this 1984 Cadillac Eldorado convertible might just be the car of your dreams. 13. We've got a real treat for you, a 1982 Dodge Aries station wagon that's an absolute time capsule. This beauty is a rare find, and it's in excellent condition, having won not one, but 2 Best in Class awards in the past 2 years. First off, let's talk about the specs. Under the hood, you'll find a factory-optional 2.6L G54B Hemi motor, which is a real gem. And get this, the car has bucket seats with a rare factory-option center console and floor shift, automatic. That's right, this Aries is loaded with cool features that you don't see every day. Now let's dive into the history of this car. It was purchased new in July of 1982 at Brian Wilson's Tacoma Dodge, and it even comes with the original new car order dealer sales paperwork and a factory sales brochure. That's like having a piece of automotive history right in your hands. The seller is the third owner, having purchased the car from a friend of the family. The story goes that it was the wife's car, and she hardly ever drove it. When the seller bought it, the odometer showed just 14,809 miles, and it currently has about 17,000 miles. That means the seller has only put about 3,000 miles on it over the past couple of years. Talk about low mileage. But here's the real kicker. This car has spent most of its life in the small town of Sequim, WA, which is known for being the driest city in Washington state. That means no rust, no mildew, and a car that's in absolutely pristine condition. The exterior features wood grain vinyl siding and a wood grain vinyl accent-trimmed luggage rack, which gives it that classic station wagon look. The paint is original and in good condition, with only some minor blemishes. And get this, the car's riding on 4 period-correct white wall tires that were new in 2022. Inside, the interior is just as impressive. The carpet is original and in good condition, with only slight discoloration on the center hump. The floor mats are also original and in good shape. The headliner is brand new and perfect. And while there's no AC from the factory, the car does have a tilt steering wheel and an original AM/FM all-transistor radio that just needs a little fine-tuning now and then. Now, I know what you might be thinking. But what about the price? Well, the seller is asking $6,800 for this beauty, and considering its excellent condition, low mileage, and rare factory options, I'd say that's a pretty fair price. Of course, as with any classic car purchase, it's important to do your due diligence and check it out in person before making a deal. Overall, this 1982 Dodge Aries station wagon is a rare find and an absolute gem. It's a piece of automotive history that's been incredibly well preserved, and it's ready for a new owner who will appreciate its unique features and classic style. So, what do you say, folks? Are you ready to make this Aries yours? 14. We're taking a closer look at a classic 1966 Ford Mustang that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This beauty is priced at $8,000, and it's a real head-turner. Now, I want to be straight with you guys. The seller mentions that this Mustang is a project car and not being sold as a running driver. The clutch is currently bad, so keep that in mind if you're considering making an offer. However, the car has been upgraded with some sweet features like new V8 suspension, steering, disc brakes, and a fresh set of tires. Under the hood, you'll find a factory T-code 200 CI 6-cylinder engine paired with a 3-speed manual transmission. While it's not the most powerful setup, it's a solid foundation for a build. The seller even suggests that you could convert it to a 289, 302, or 347 V8 with a 3, 4, or 5-speed transmission if you're looking for more oomph. The car itself is solid and ready for your personal touch. It's a San Jose-built car with an LADSO, which adds to its cool factor. The exterior sports a sleek gray paint job, and the interior looks to be in decent shape from what we can see in the pictures. One thing to note is that the seller is firm on the price. They're asking for $8,000 cash and are not interested in lowball offers or trades. They also mention that if the ad is up, the car is still available, so if you're seriously interested, you better act fast. Overall, this 1966 Ford Mustang is a fantastic project car for someone who wants to put their own spin on a classic. With the upgrades already made and the potential for more, it's a solid choice for any car enthusiast looking for their next adventure. Just remember, you'll need to bring a trailer to take this baby home. 15. We're diving into a classic beauty that's up for grabs on Craigslist, a 1965 Ford Thunderbird. This iconic ride is being offered at a price of $4,200, and it's ready for a new owner to take the wheel. Now let's be real here. The seller has had this car covered up for a whopping 17 years, so it's not going to be in pristine condition. In fact, they're straight up telling us that it's a great restoration project or a source for valuable, hard-to-find original parts. So if you're looking for a car that's ready to hit the road right away, this might not be the one for you. But if you're a fan of classic cars and you're up for a challenge, this 1965 Thunderbird could be an incredible opportunity. With a clean title, automatic transmission, and 50,000 miles on the odometer, this car has a lot of potential. And if you're willing to put in the work to restore it, you could see a huge return on your investment. The seller seems genuine in their description, admitting that the car needs work, and encouraging potential buyers to call with any questions or to see it in person before it's gone. So, if you're in the market for a classic car that you can put your own stamp on, this 1965 Ford Thunderbird might just be the perfect project for you. 16. We've got a real treat for you, a stunning 1949 Packard Deluxe 8 that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This beauty is being offered at a firm price of $15,000, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First off, just take a look at this car. It's a true classic, with a gorgeous two-tone burgundy and silver exterior that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. And the interior? It's tan and absolutely amazing. You can tell that this car has been well maintained throughout its life. Under the hood, you'll find an impressive 8-cylinder engine that delivers plenty of power to the rear wheels. And with a manual transmission, you'll have complete control over this beast of a machine. It's the perfect car for anyone who loves the feeling of shifting gears and hitting the open road. Now, here's the really impressive part. This Packard has just over 64,670 original miles on it. That's right, original miles. This car has been around for over 70 years, and it still runs like a dream. The seller notes that it drives great, and based on the photos, it looks like it's in excellent condition inside and out. In fact, the seller even goes so far as to say that this car is car show quality. That means it's not just a pretty face, it's got the chops to compete with the best of the best. And with a clean title, you can be sure that you're getting a car with a clear history and no hidden surprises. Now, it's worth noting that this car is located at the seller's home in Arroyo Grande, SLO County, and it's only available to be shown by appointment. But trust me, it's worth making the trip to see this beauty in person. So, if you're in the market for a classic car that's sure to impress, this 1949 Packard Deluxe 8 might just be the one for you. With its stunning good looks, impressive performance, and incredible history, it's a car that's sure to be the pride of any collection. Don't miss your chance to own a piece of automotive history. Give the seller a call and schedule an appointment to see this beauty for yourself. 17. We've got a real gem to talk about, a 1964 Ford Thunderbird that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This beauty is being offered at a price of $14,000, and let me tell you, it's a steal for what you're getting. First off, let's talk about the condition of this T-Bird. The seller describes it as very original, and based on the details they've provided, it's clear that this car has been well maintained throughout its life. With just 73,900 miles on the odometer, this car has plenty of life left in it. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 8-cylinder engine that's been upgraded with a new Holley Sniper fuel injection system. That means this car is going to run like a dream, with improved fuel efficiency and performance. Plus, with a new fuel pump, gas tank, and rear mufflers, you can be sure that this car is ready to hit the road. The seller has also made some impressive upgrades to the suspension, with new front and rear springs and air shocks on the rear. That means this car is going to ride like a dream, with a smooth and comfortable feel on the road. Now let's talk about the interior. The seller describes it as quite nice and in unrestored condition, which is a testament to how well this car has been cared for over the years. You'll feel like you're stepping back in time when you slide behind the wheel of this classic beauty. As for the exterior, the seller notes that the body is straight and that this car has virtually no rust, thanks to its Colorado origins. That's a huge plus for anyone looking for a classic car that's in great condition. The only downside mentioned is that the air conditioner pump is non-operational and should be replaced with a vintage air system. But honestly, that's a small price to pay for a car that's this impressive overall. And speaking of price, the seller has this T-Bird listed at $14,000, which is a realistic and fair asking price for a car of this caliber. With all the upgrades and improvements that have been made, you're getting a lot of value for your money here. So, if you're in the market for a classic car that's sure to turn heads and provide you with years of driving enjoyment, this 1964 Ford Thunderbird might just be the one for you. Don't miss out on the opportunity to own a piece of automotive history. Give the seller a call and schedule a time to see this beauty in person. 18. We're taking a closer look at a 1970 Dodge Dart Swinger that's up for sale on Craigslist. The seller is asking $8,000 for this classic beauty, and based on the description, it sounds like it could be a great deal for the right buyer. Now let's dive into the details. Under the hood, you'll find a reliable slant-six engine, which is known for its durability and efficiency. The seller has also upgraded the car with power steering, making it easier to handle on the road. The seller has put a lot of work into this Dart, with new brakes, carpet, upholstery, leaf springs, and tires. That means you're getting a car that's been well maintained and updated with modern touches. Plus, the complete wiring upgrade ensures that all the electrical components are in good working order. It's clear that the seller has invested a lot of time and money into this car, and they've got the receipts to prove it. That's always a good sign when you're buying a classic car, as it shows that the owner has taken good care of it over the years. Now, the seller does mention that the odometer reads 100,000 miles, which is something to keep in mind. However, with all the upgrades and improvements that have been made, this car still has plenty of life left in it. One thing to note is that the seller says they're feeling the waters with this sale, which suggests that they may not be entirely sure about letting go of this classic beauty. That could be a good thing for potential buyers, as it means the seller is likely to be more negotiable on the price. And with a BO, best offer, listed, there's definitely room for negotiation here. Overall, this 1970 Dodge Dart Swinger seems like a solid car with a lot of potential. With its classic good looks, reliable engine, and modern upgrades, it's the kind of car that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. And at $8,000 or best offer, it's a price that's hard to beat for a car of this caliber. 19. We've got a real treat for you. A 1972 Chevrolet El Camino that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This beauty is being offered at a price of $14,500, and based on the description, it's a deal that's hard to pass up. First off, let's talk about the condition of this El Camino. The seller describes it as being in good condition, which is a promising sign. They also mention that it's a daily driver, so you know it's been well maintained and ready to hit the road. Under the hood, you'll find a rebuilt 350 V8 engine with a mild cam, new Edelbrock 600 CFM 4 BBL carb, and Edelbrock intake. That means this El Camino is packing some serious power and is ready to take on whatever you throw at it. Plus, with a new 700R4 transmission with shift kit, you'll have smooth and reliable shifting every time. The seller has also made some impressive upgrades to the exhaust system, with new dual exhaust and Flowmaster 400s. That means this El Camino is going to sound as good as it looks, with a deep, throaty rumble that's sure to turn heads. Other upgrades include new front disc brakes, a new radiator, tilt steering, and a 12-bolt rear end. The seller has also installed new rear springs and air shocks, which means this El Camino is going to ride like a dream. And with new 15 wheels and tires from Discount Tire, it's going to look great doing it. One thing to note is that the seller mentions they have health issues that are necessitating the sale. That's always a tough situation, but it means that this El Camino is priced to sell quickly. And with all the upgrades and improvements that have been made, it's a deal that's hard to beat. The seller also mentions that they're open to considering early VWs for partial trade, which could be a great option for anyone looking to offload their old VW and upgrade to a classic American muscle car. Overall, this 1972 Chevrolet El Camino is a fantastic find on Craigslist. With its impressive upgrades, daily driver status, and reasonable price, it's the kind of car that's sure to make any enthusiast happy. If you're in the market for a classic ride that's ready to hit the road, this El Camino is definitely worth checking out. Just be sure to act fast. With a deal this good, it's not likely to last long. 20. We've got a real gem to talk about. A 1977 Chevrolet Camaro Z28 that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This vintage beauty is being offered at a price of $12,900, and let me tell you, it's a deal that's hard to pass up. First off, let's talk about the condition of this Camaro. The seller describes it as being in good condition, which is a promising sign. They also mention that it was a backwoods find, which means it's likely been well preserved and not subjected to the wear and tear of daily driving. Under the hood, you'll find a fresh 383-stroker V8 motor that was upgraded 6 years ago. That means this Camaro is packing some serious power and is ready to take on whatever you throw at it. Plus, with a fresh 2.5 dual exhaust, it's going to sound absolutely incredible. The seller even notes that it's mildly quiet, which means you won't be waking up the neighbors every time you start it up. The exterior of this Camaro is just as impressive as the engine. It's painted in a stunning yellow color that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. The factory Z28 wheels are in great shape and are wrapped in new tires, which means you'll have plenty of grip on the road. The brakes are also in great shape, so you can feel confident and safe behind the wheel. Moving on to the interior, the seller notes that it's all stock and in great condition. There are no dash cracks or worn-out door panels, which is a testament to how well this car has been cared for over the years. You'll feel like you're stepping back in time when you slide behind the wheel of this classic beauty. One thing that really stands out about this Camaro is its potential as an investment vehicle. The seller notes that vintage cars like this one will not depreciate over time, which means you could potentially see a great return on your investment down the line. Plus, with the Street Rod Summer Nationals coming up in July, this Camaro would be the perfect vehicle to show off at the event. The seller is asking $12,900 for this Camaro, but they do note that they're open to possible trades if it works for both parties. That could be a great option for anyone looking to offload their current ride and upgrade to a classic American muscle car. Overall, this 1977 Chevrolet Camaro Z28 is a fantastic find on Craigslist. With its impressive upgrades, great condition, and potential as an investment vehicle, it's the kind of car that's sure to make any enthusiast happy. If you're in the market for a vintage ride that's ready to hit the road and turn heads, this Camaro is definitely worth checking out. Just be sure to act fast. With a deal this good, it's not likely to last long.